Hey guys, Andy again, spoken label. Back in the house on a Sunday morning. Yeah, it is a Sunday morning as well. We were over in Bradford yesterday. Me and Amanda were seeing her family, and that was an interesting day. I'll leave it at that. So we're over to the Nantwich area today to see a friend of mine. And I can honestly say this gentleman has become a good friend of both mine and Amanda's through his antics over at Speakeasy in the last 18 months or so. He's a fantastic bloke and always a pleasure to have this guy on, the wonderful Martin CM. Now, Martin, we've got plenty
Hi.
of ground to cover today, mate. And you surprised me before when I didn't realise your poetry is fairly new to you still as well, isn't it? So,
Yeah, I've been doing it. I started in about September 23. I went to a creative writing course because I thought I wanted to increase my creative writing. I've done a lot of young adult stuff and I've been quite successful doing a very unique genre, which I will mention if you want. I've been
please,
doing a very
please.
unique genre. I'm best-selling author of erotic horror, I think is the best way to describe it. I say
I didn't know
best-selling.
about that. I didn't
No,
know
no, not
about
many people do. It's best-selling in that it's we managed to buy a car out of it, so that's pretty good. But yeah, I was like number one, number two, number five, number nine, number 10 in the top 10 at one point, which was a really good day. Um, but it's all done under a pseudonym, which nobody knows except for me, because they're very rude and very stupid.
that.
But yeah, so no, and with my job, I do a lot of sort of presentations, and I sort of went to it. I thought try and improve my creative writing, and I went to a creative writing course in Winsford, run by Karen Kendrick, who's a really good poet and a really good
Oh,
author.
I know
Actually,
Karen.
I think you know Karen, yeah.
Yeah, I know
She's
Karen.
really she was awesome. She was awesome. And so she is responsible for this. It's her
Hi,
fault.
Karen. No, but all
Yeah,
the
you are
rude
completely,
content we
completely
got
your
coming.
fault.
Please, no, no, please not, it's Karen. I did not know this. I'm claiming
No,
innocence here.
she's her fault. And so I went to this course and she was brilliant. I really liked her. She's amazing. And she said, oh, well, do poetry next week. And I said, oh God, I bloody hate poetry. I really hate poetry because I did. I really hate poetry. And so we did the week and I wrote three poems and she said, oh, these are all right. These are good. I thought, okay. And genuinely, I thought I just kind of took over. It just kind of took over. Every time we did a writing exercise from then on, I was writing poetry, not writing prose, not writing anything. It's kind of taken over. And I thought, okay. Originally, I came to the Dulcimer, which, if anyone hasn't been to spoken word, speakeasy at the Dulcimer, it's fantastic. And and I went twice and I thought, well, actually, the world needs to hear what I've got to say. She's utter rubbish. But I actually started thinking I'll improve my presentation skills. I genuinely wanted to improve my presentation skills. And actually, can you overcome the fear of standing up in front of a group of people and reading something you've written? Because it is terrifying. And it was terrifying the first time, and it's still terrifying. I know you probably don't find it terrifying anymore,
Well, I
but
know,
I still
I
get.
never find it easy. Never find it easy, to answer
Ah,
yourself.
good, because I still I start before I'm doing this or to moving my hands all the time, and afterwards my hands are shaking. And you see a lot of people doing it, and we've got a guy in Nantwich who does it to overcome a bit of his kind. I think he does it to overcome social anxiety, and there's a lot of people who do it to overcome social anxiety. There've been a few of them where there's quite
Me,
anxious people,
me too as well.
and
Me too, once upon a time, yeah.
well, yeah, they're challenging themselves, and I thought, well, I'm going to challenge myself, so I did, and I got a laugh, and I thought, okay, this is. Quite like this. Um, quite like getting a laugh. My wife always says I have the and sort of an intense need to be the center of attention, and probably do, in fairness. So that's where it came from. Yeah, it's a long answer, but yeah, I've not been doing it very long. And when I first stood up, the first poems I read out were the first ones I'd kind of written, and I'd been doing it for about 4 months, 5 months. So I'm still not done it for very long, really. Still new.
Wow, I
Long
didn't.
answer to a short question.
I remember you when I first met you. 'Cause you came along twice. You did. I remember
I
both
did. I
times
came
you
twice.
introduced yourself to me. I think you definitely had emailed me, so I said to you, and
Yeah, I had.
I
I had.
didn't realize it was your first time. Well, good God, I know. Shows
No,
you
no,
that.
no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's worth. Yeah, it's the good thing about doing it open micing is you get involved in these little cliques, in these little communities
Yeah,
that
curious
you
is a good
didn't
word.
even realize existed. I've made friends we do one in Nantwich every other week if I can. And I've made friends, and you go along and you feel like you're part of something. And
Yeah.
at the Dulcimer, you go along, and yeah, there's always lots of different people coming along. There's always the same people as well. And you don't, some of them may not like what I do, and that's fine. But you just feel part of something. It makes you feel connected
Yeah.
in a way
Agreed.
that, I mean, lived where I've lived for years. I've never felt connected to anything, and you start to feel some connection, and it's great. Love it. I do genuinely love it. I will. They will have to drag me off the stage when I die. That'll be my that's my goal. I'm going to fall down dead. There's a guy who I'm giving you very long answers here. There's a guy, I can't remember the guy's name. He was in his 90s. He's in his
Yeah.
90s, and it was
Kevin,
his
Kevin,
birthday.
Kevin, yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah.
He's
Kevin
brilliant. He's
Braddock.
brilliant. He's worth
Yeah.
seeing 'cause he's brilliant, brilliant poet. I really like his poems, and he's still doing it at 90.
Yeah.
I
Did
mean,
I
that is
ever
amazing.
Kevin, the first time we met him, or when we met some years ago, and you don't need this short show, it might shock you a bit this now. First time we met him, we had this lovely poem about the walking into nature. And you can ask
Hmm.
Steve about this because Steve remembers this. And Amanda does. And the second poem went on stage was that really about sheep shagging. And
That's
we would have
funny.
sat there thinking, this guy's in his early 80s here at the time. Steve
Yeah.
now saying, I don't believe what I'm hearing here. It's really funny.
No, but he's got a lot of talent as well.
Yeah.
And that's the bit I listen to. I'm sitting there, and Andy Cash stands up,
Yeah.
and Martin Elder stands up. Martin Elder's got a lovely voice, and his poems are really great. Andy Cash stands up, and he's got a great voice, and his delivery's great. And he thinks his poems are thought through. His poems are intelligent and emotional and clever. And then I stand up and do a poem about a dildo, and I think I'm not really on the same. I do sometimes think I'm not really on the same planet as these people. They are proper. I watch people and think they're a proper poet. And there's a guy who comes to Nantwich, Nick Frenzy. You might know him.
Mm.
You might have seen. He's met him,
But
and he genuinely writes great poems. And then I stand up and do something stupid, and I just think sometimes I'm not really. These people are real poets, and I'm just being an idiot. That's kind of what I feel, to be honest. Sometimes,
But
to
I
be
think
honest.
the good thing with it is what you're doing, and like I said, he's just your voice a lot of the time. And when people hear your
Oh,
stuff in the second half, it is your voice, but it's very clever what you've done. It's just in a different, you're in a different park sometimes. That's the great thing with any sort of spoken word open mic night. Well, last time we had you on, because I started the second half, I remember this. I came on. There was a young lady that came on after me, reading very serious stuff,
yeah,
and
she was
then
good.
yeah, and she's going to come and spoke later in October as well. But
Wow.
that's the story of another day. That, but yeah, and then you came on and you just changed the ballpark completely. And it's great because
Yeah, I'm not sure
the
it's a good
predictability.
thing because Lindy stood up. I was sitting with my son, and Lindy, who was doing the hosting last time, stood up and she said she was really pleased to have loads of men doing emotional poems, men revealing their emotional side, and men sort of revealing their sort of, being open. And my son looked at me and he said, "Oh, you buggered here." And I thought, okay. And I stood up, and Lindy looked at me and she said, "You're not going to be emotional, are you?" No, I'm not. And and actually, in fairness, it was brilliant because it made it work better.
Yeah,
But
that
it
was good.
was,
That was good hosting, man, Lindy. That was, yeah.
she was, yeah, that was
Hi,
good because
Lindy.
she did look at me. She did look at me and say, you're not going to be emotional, are you? You're not going to reveal anything." No, I'm not.
No,
But that was
apart
great.
from insult your family, maybe a little bit, yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah. But so that's, yeah. Yeah, long answers to short questions. I'm sorry, you're going to have to tell me to shut up if I'm going on too
Oh,
long.
don't worry, mate. Right, well, like I said 40 is we've seen you grow, certainly for Speakeasy over the last 18 months or so, which has now led to this wonderful
Yeah, the book.
beast with
Yeah,
the
the book.
book. Yeah.
It's sold
Now,
dozens.
I've noticed you've got dozens of reviews in it on Amazon as
Dozens. I've
well.
got dozens of sales. Yeah.
Now,
It's not
obviously,
many.
we have to start off with the title, obviously.
Yes.
The title people
Yes.
don't they couldn't see it in this camera is well, I should be more carefully it was vanished. Poems of people who don't like poetry.
Yes.
Where did the title come from, mate, first of all?
I don't like poetry.
Oh,
Honestly, honestly, you're younger than me. You've disconnected
no.
yourself.
No,
You're
it's all
younger
right.
than me. When I was at school, we did the war poets. We did Wilfred Owen, Siegfried Sassoon. We did Adelstrop. And we used to have to analyze poems. I remember the English lessons were all kind of right. What's a noun? What's a verb? What's the analysis of it? What's this? And I hated it. The only poem I've ever liked up until recently was The Charge of the Light Brigade. And the only reason I ever liked The Charge of the Light Brigade is my two of my ancestors were in it, and so I kind of like that
Oh,
poem.
wow.
And I hated poetry. I genuinely don't like poetry. And even now, I can count the number of poets I read on the fingers of one finger. I like open mic poetry. I like the performance poetry. I like listening to someone. I love it, and I love some of the poems. And I listen to it, and I think those are brilliant, and I really get moved by it. I think they're great. I never read poetry. I don't like poetry. So, I mean, that sounds pathetic, doesn't it? But that's where it came from, and also it came from. The introduction says I did sit there in the creative writing session and say I don't like poetry, and then I've sort of it's taken over my life. So it is kind of quite ironic. But yeah, I mean, it was to be honest, I didn't put that much thought into the title. It just came to me straight away.
No, it's a good instinct because it's a good irony for what you are as a person, and I think it
Yeah,
works really well. Sums the book up really,
thank you,
really as well. Like it,
thank you.
and people will often say when you look at books, you often look at what's on the sleeve of the book. And in
Yes,
your cases, we look at the back of the book, and all we're seeing is some. I'm just going to say some comments, right? Some of them, I think,
they're genuine reviews.
I'm just going to say I'll read out. Why the one? I'll just read one out by another Andy, your brother, not me.
Yeah,
I've not wrote this. Why was I left to be eaten by the crocodile? And then I
yes,
just and then you get another one, your other brother Phil. So I have to do this, will I?
yeah.
I just love all the irony behind it.
Well,
So
again, I just thought I needed to have something. My favorite is not bad, but I like some of them. But I object to using AI to generate the images from Oscar, my unsupportive son, um, because that's what he says. He objects to it. He morally objects to it, and that's okay. But I just thought the whole book is full of slightly sarcastic, slightly self-deprecating, hopefully, poems, and I kind of thought I would be slightly self-deprecating on the back as well, because one of them is from. Well, we have a writing group in Cheshire, and I go to it, and Peter, one of my mates there, he's always saying, oh, some of them could be better. I like that one, but that's not very good. So I thought I'll put that. Some of them could be better, in my opinion, which I thought was quite a decent. I mean, it's true. Some of them could be better. They
yeah,
all could be better. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of thought I'd be equally stupid on the back as I am in the book, if that
which
makes
is
sense.
a great way of putting it. So now I'm going to talk about a couple of the pieces in the book now, and I've not told you which ones of these are yet. I want to
No, I've
ask
got
you
no
about.
idea.
So it makes it adds to the fun. Now, obviously, first of all, I loved obviously. The first piece I want to talk about today, and I'm going to make sure I wrote the title down right here. Yes, is What I Am, which
Oh right,
obviously,
okay.
which obviously is after doing the introduction in the book, is you get an AI version of yourself there stood there
You do get an AI version of me, yeah. You do
looking
looking grumpy.
really miserable.
That's me, yeah.
Now, obviously, first of all, with this one, I think it's a great piece to start the book off. This one.
Oh, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, obviously, what made you, first of all, want to write this piece, and then what made you want to start the book off with it?
Okay, there's two things that made me start it. We did at the Dulcimer, Gordon, I think his surname is
Yeah,
Zola, isn't it?
Zola. Yeah,
He was hosting it, and he did a poem which was basically about himself. It was basically explaining who he was,
yeah.
and I thought that's a really good way to start it was a great poem. And yeah, I have been quite influenced by coming to your
Oh, I
open
know.
mic,
For you.
and I thought that's good. And then there's a singer called Thea Gilmore. I don't know if you're a Thea
I know. For
Gilmore.
yeah, I've seen for ooh, what, 2 or 3 times now, actually.
Yeah, I've
So
seen her twice. She's pretty awesome, isn't she?
incredible.
And she's a poet, and she wrote this poem. I'm not. If I it was if I was this, I'd be this. If I was this, I'd be this. If I was this, it's a song. If I was this, I'd be this. And I just thought, okay, that's a kind of opposites, and it's a brilliant song. And that's what started me on this route of writing this. I kind of thought, right, well, and also I'd like to explain a bit of what I am straight away. So I started the book with that because it's my book. So let's start with telling people a bit about who I am, and it's one of the few poems in there where a lot of it is actually vaguely true. Most of the stuff in there is made up. There's two in there. There's three actually. One is absolutely true. One is partly true. One is like this. It's kind of a lot of it's vaguely true. So there is there's a lot of truth in it, and I just thought it was a decent way to start explaining to people who've never met me, no idea who I am, what the book is about and what I am really. Um, and so bits of it are pretty true. Yeah. Actually
Yeah,
reading it now.
good. No,
And
no,
if you want to, I can tell you some bits which are true, but it's up to you. Mate. You go as in depth or
well,
as little depth as you want.
well, let people look into the piece on that one. I think it'll be suggestive more than anything else.
Okay. Okay, mate. All right.
Now, what I did really like about this book was the reoccurring themes of family in this book, and
Yeah,
because
there are.
there's
Yeah.
yeah, there's two of them that are directly aimed at your daughter, and I'm surprised
Yeah.
she's still speaking to you after both of these two
Oh, she's
actually.
great. She likes being referred to. She's probably got the same need to be a center of attention as me. Um, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of you will you write you refer to people you know, don't you? So there's a
Yeah,
poem about my best mate Simon, and he is my best mate. There's a lot about my brothers and my daughters in it a lot. Ellie appears a lot. I wrote a whole series of poems which aren't in here. They'll be in the book too, which will sell
ding
in
dong.
its dozens. Yeah. About, I kind of thought if I was going to write sort of slightly strange poems that you wouldn't want to read out to your children, so kind of, like about the real, taking things to a slight edge. And Ellie it's a nice name, and it's imagining if she was four, what I'd be like reading this out to her. So yeah, and family's important. It's important to me.
Yeah,
We still have quite a close family, I think.
good. It shows it really because you can get away with it.
Good.
So now,
Yeah.
obviously, the one I want to talk about first of all is, do you believe in Santa Claus, Ellie? So
Yeah,
that's
it's
my
good. I
I
like that one.
love this piece.
Oh, good. Thank you.
It's a good way of messing up with you. If Ellie was four, you'd probably messed her head up, but she'd read this one.
No, she's in her 20s now. I can't remember how old she is, which is another recurring theme in my poems. I can't remember anything about my children.
Yeah. No, but what made you want to write this one about them? Do you believe in Santa Claus, Ellie?
Again, it came from the idea that I wanted something to read out at Christmas. Because everyone else, I assumed that I'd go to an open mic and everyone would be reading out Christmas poems. And I thought, well, and I read there was a Neil Gaiman, who's a really, this all comes, it makes it sound like all of my ideas are stolen, which they are. Neil Gaiman wrote a very short flash fiction story about Santa Claus being this sort of tormented soul who was sort of dragged along by his elves and made to deliver it was a punishment to him, and it was in one of his short story books, and that stuck in my head. And I'm not claiming it's not the most original idea in the world, but it stuck in my head. And I thought, right, well, I want to write something about Christmas. I can't write a happy Christmas poem. I can't write something happy, so I've got to write something that's basically telling my daughter that Santa Claus is a horrible, evil, evil, horrible drunk. And so I just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. That's what got me into it. I mean, to be honest, Neil, it was that Neil Gaiman short story that stuck. I read it about 20 years ago, and it stuck in my head. It was only a flash fiction thing,
Yeah.
and it stuck in my head.
I used to be a massive fan of Neil Gaiman. I really did.
He's good, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's brilliant. Yeah,
when he's on fire, he's unbelievable.
yeah. When
Unbelievable
he's on,
writer.
when he's going, when he's doing it right, he's really good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So much better than I would ever be. He is.
Oh God,
He's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that. Brilliant stuff. Okay, I want to know next about your love of running.
Oh, I hate running.
I know, I
I
know.
hate running. I
There
fucking
is
hate
obviously
it.
there's a
I
poem
hate
in.
running. I hate running.
Are you like
There's a
me?
poem in the
Are you a
book about running.
waddler? Are you a waddler or just
No, I think I stumble along like Quasimodo, Chelsea Esmeralda. Um, I've done the Manchester 10K twice. I did it this year, and it was bakingly hot. And there's this bloke ahead of me, and I kept thinking, I'm going to catch him up. I'm going to catch him up. I'm going to catch him up. He was in his 90s, and he had a stick,
Well, it wasn't Kevin
and
Bagnall anyway. Let
and
me
he
say that
would.
for you, Kevin. I know it
No, I
wasn't.
don't know who it was. No, he had a stick, and he looked like he was 90s. He probably wasn't. He was in his 80s then, and he had a stick, and couldn't catch him up. I'd get close, and then he'd start to run. And I just thought, I hate you, and I hate everyone around me, and I hate this. But I do it. I make myself run. I've lost a lot of weight a couple of years ago, a few years ago now, and running stops me putting the weight on, and it means that when I'm in my 80s, I'll be able to get up from my chair and get up onto the stage and do something. I hate it though. I hate it. I hate it. I can't tell you how much. Read the poem and genuinely, I hate it. It's
It shows.
horrible. It's a horrible experience. Yeah, horrible.
Yeah,
But it's really good for you. Um,
true.
it does me a lot of good. It's good for your mental health as well. Weirdly though, I'm one of these people who runs who gets no endorphin rush at all. Liz, my wife, will run and she'll be bouncing along at the end, really happy. And I ran the 10K and she was really happy at the end of it. And I just said, right, I've done that now. Time has passed.
Yeah,
That was
it's
literally as far as it went.
there's another AI, wonderful AI picture of you in this book. This
There is
point,
a nice picture of
yeah,
me in it.
yeah,
Yeah, there is.
yeah. I just love the
It's
fact you like. There's people wondering, looking along, like another, like a proper face on you. And I wish I could see you if you're running, actually, because I could definitely see that one, mate.
yeah, I do have a proper. I have a proper face on me most of the time, I think.
No, it's
Yeah, it is me.
quality. It's quality, mate. Now, one the other poem I always remember in this book, when you've read this one out, I knew quite a few of these from Speakeasy. The one that always sticks in my head was about inheritance and your mum.
Oh,
Now I'm going to
yeah,
give you the
that.
cycle to that because I've wrote that down wrong and I've just realised as well. But
It's
yeah,
called an unwanted inheritance, I
yeah,
think.
I wrote down there. It's dyspraxia, an unhated inheritance, and I thought, no, it
No, no,
wasn't.
no, no, no.
No,
It's
it's
an
definitely not
unwanted
an unhated
inheritance.
one. It's
No, it's an
unwanted. Yeah,
unwanted inheritance. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the first poems I wrote, and it's one of the first poems I've read out. And I read it out at the Dulcimer first, and I went back and I thought it's not quite right, needs a bit more. And then I read it out at there's a festival in Nantwich. I did it, and I thought, it's not right, just needs a bit more. And it didn't have enough of an introduction, enough of the story to it. It was just I went straight in with the thing, and it wasn't quite right. I mean, it's a poem about finding, basically, people can read it, but it's a poem about when my mum died. You're sorting out a house. You find all sorts of things that you don't want to find because you do whenever you're sort of clearing out the house because it's their private lives. And it's just basically it's that under the bed was my mum's dildo. That's the joke. And how do you get rid of it once you've got it? You've got basically a box with your mum's dildo in it. You can't get rid of it, and that's the joke that runs through the poem. It's not true. It's not even vaguely true. I mean, the worst thing we did was find her teeth. We found her false teeth, which was horrible. But it is funny when you do it. I've read that poem out a number of places, and I read it out. I did one at a pub in the Hay Festival during the Hay Festival, which now means I can say I performed at the Hay Festival, which obviously I didn't. I just in a pub. And this bloke came up to me after and said, "Oh, that happened to me." What? I found a load of dildos. Oh, okay. And somebody else came up to me and said, that was a really horrible thing to find. I thought, yeah. But it wasn't true. It was
Oh,
made up. About three or four people have come up to me after and said either that they
oh,
found a dildo or how did you cope with it? Did it emotionally scar
dear,
you?
dear,
No,
dear.
because it's made up. Because if I had found my mum's dildo, I would not have written a poem about it because my mum was a deeply sort of deep. She was a private human being. She would not have. She'd have thought it was funny, in fairness. The only element of truth in that poem is that she did get an OBE. So that's the only. There's a line in it where she got her well-deserved OBE, and she did get one. So that's the only element of truth. She was great, and she might well have had a dildo, but she certainly wouldn't have wanted me standing on stage talking about it if she had.
Oh
No,
God.
that's one of my favourites. That always works. That always goes down well when I read it out. Um, does
Yeah.
always go down well.
It's one of my favourites of yours as well. It's brilliant. It's absolutely
Oh, good.
incredible
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah.
That's really nice of you.
I do really like that one. So, the one of one other end of this book, particularly I loved as well was, and this is where you're being nice to somebody as well, is, and you're stating is your only 100% true piece in the book.
Yes, it is 100% true. Yes, it
And
is.
of course, this one's called The Love Poem for My Wife.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, now, obviously, I guess why you wrote this, for your wife. But was there any reason why you put this near the end of the book?
Um, just as it felt like it was a decent sign off, really. Um, and because it's not one that everyone will relate to. I mean, you can relate it. It can be related. It's general. It's not specific enough to just be. You could read it. The references in it work for other people. But no, I put it at the end. I wrote it largely because we do this one, as I say, in Nantwich, a lot of music, and people get to sing along, and people get to. There's a lot of love songs. But you don't get. I've never written a love poem, and it was my wedding anniversary, and I knew I was standing up about 2 days, 3 days later, so I read. I thought I'll read this out, and it'll be nice. She'll like it. I tried to do something nice for her. she said to me afterwards she was waiting all the way through it for me to say something horrible about her. Because, and no, I didn't. No, so it was just kind of like a sign off, really, I felt. And it's the least accessible in that sense because it is, you could read it and think, well, I don't understand who half those people are. Because it refers to different relationships and different, it refers to Burton and Taylor and Homer and Madge and so on. It relates our relationship to these other people. And you could read it and think, I don't know who half those people are, but maybe that's the challenge. The challenge is, so I'll ask you, Andy, did you recognize all the names?
Pull the book out now.
No, you didn't, did
I
you?
can't even. I have to double check it. Yeah, I knew Mulder and Scully. Neo and Trinity is obviously from the Matrix.
It is, yeah.
Sandy and Danny, is that
Danny, that's
Sandy Derry? Sandy
that
Derry, is it?
Sandy and Danny, that's from oh, not Saturday Night Fever, Grease.
I wouldn't have known that.
Grease.
Lois and Clark was there's a typo in that. I've just realised as well.
Oh, is it? Oh no, don't say a typo. Don't tell me there's a
Okay,
typo.
okay. Poetic license then is Lois and Superman.
Yeah.
Cleo and Mark, have no idea. Harry and Sally, yes. Angel and
Maria,
Buffy,
obviously you know Abel and Buffy.
yeah, of course.
But the
No.
big question is, do you know at the end David and Patrick? That does reveal something about if you know who David and Patrick are. Have you ever watched Schitt's Creek?
Mandras should know it. Should know it. I haven't because that's the one where you know she's mad and supernatural, don't you? The TV program.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jensen's in that one. He's trying to get him at his debut.
Oh, right.
Jensen
Oh, is
Ackles.
he?
Yeah, and you know,
Oh, he is, isn't he?
yeah, he's got
Is he?
his hair is just absolutely wild in that.
Yes, I do remember him. Yeah, it's one of my favorite comedy shows. Largely, if anyone wants to watch it, it's one of the things about Schitt's Creek is it's this kind of town in America, sort of Hicksville, America, and these people move there. And it's a weird town because there's no homophobia in that town at all. They are, and it really touches you when you're watching it. It really gets into you because it's kind of like there's this gay couple, David and Patrick, and they're brilliant and they're great, and they're presented as they should be, as it's just the way life is, and that to me was how it should be, and it really connected to me, partly because of that, mainly it's very funny, but also because it's like this such an accepting, nice, pleasant. You think it's going to be Hicksville and everyone's going to hate everyone, and it was genuinely it really, and that's why they're in the book because it's just this genuine relationship that I thought was very strong
Yeah,
and really got to me.
no, it works really well, the piece for that. Yeah, certainly. Like I said I knew
Good,
most of
thank
it. I
you.
knew most of them, not all of them.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, that's all
yeah,
right. You don't
yeah, I
have
knew
to.
most of them. Nice, fair play to you, mate. Excellent with that. Now, obviously, I just want to know out of interest. 'Cause obviously, there is a lot of AI imagery in this book, and
There
what
is,
I
yeah.
know you is all done for irony. But when did you actually decide to put the AI imagery in the book?
Well, I don't. Okay, I'm not rich, the same as most of us.
No.
We're not rich. Um, I knew I wasn't going to sell thousands. And so if I wanted illustrations in that book, I had two choices. I could have drawn them myself, which I could do. I do a lot of comic art. I've been doing it for years, and I could do it. I sell some, and I'm okay at it. It would have taken me 2 years to do all the illustrations, or I could have paid somebody, and at a decent rate, you're charging about. They've got to be charging you, to be fair, 300-400 quid an illustration. So that would have cost me a couple of thousand quid. So more than that. So it was a choice if I either do it as an illustrated book or I don't. And I started off doing it. It was kind of like I did it first. It was like just words, and I thought that's just really dull. I like, I like Mick Inkpen, and I like Colin McNaughton, the books I read to my kids, and I thought I'll try and make it like a kid's book. The only way to do that is through AI. And I know people have issues with it. I do know that. Somebody in one of the Dulcimer ones stood up and basically said, "Oh, we shouldn't use AI for any of this." Uh, Maybe because my job, I'm using AI every single day, and I have no moral obligation to it. I say no moral obligation. I do have some moral obligations to it, objections to it. Sorry. Um, but you either get on the bus or you don't, and so I decided to get on the bus. And I knew you'd ask about it because I know people are, well, I don't like AI images. Well, they're stolen. Well, I work on the basis if I've downloaded five, if I've created five images, I've created a page, I've made it work with the words, laid it out. That's as valid as anything else. Um,
I think it works really
most
well.
famous artists.
I think it
Well,
works
I mean,
well.
most famous artists. Damien Hirst did not make his shark. He got people out there to make the shark. People, when they're doing statues, don't make the statues. They come up with the ideas and someone else makes it. I do agree with the argument that you're taking jobs away from illustrators. So I go up to a writing group in Chester, for example, and there's a lot of people in that group. I never take the book out. I've shown it to Sean, who runs it, and he's looked at it and he's okay. You know, 'cause I know him relatively well. Never take it out because there are people in that group, quite rightly, and I understand why, who object on quite a strong level to using AI. My son Oscar objects. He wouldn't. At one point, I had to say to him, "Look, you're not being helpful here. You're just picking on the book." You know, and I get it, um, but it's a choice. I either do an illustrated book that I love and I like, or I don't. And we're doing a marketing book at the moment. I've got a 500-page, give or take, marketing book, and it's done in exactly the same style as this. It's done in the same stupid style. And you either do it or you don't. I haven't got the money to pay for the illustrators. That's the truth. And you could say, well, then don't do it then. And you'd be right in one way. Um, but then I wouldn't be doing it, and I want to do it. So,
I think it works in this case, essentially. It's not something I'd recommend, obviously, for everybody to do, but because it's your book has got a lot of irony in it. I love the fact is the irony images add something to it.
well, maybe, but in reality, and I'm
Yeah,
honest, there's no irony there. It's a financial. I could have drawn them. I can do it. But it would have taken me 2 years, and I work same as you. We all
yeah,
work. You know, I don't have time, and I'd lose interest, and it wouldn't happen. And the truth is, I'm not preaching here, but if you don't get on the bus with AI, you'll be left behind.
yeah. Nice
It's the way it is.
point. Point.
Um, you know,
Point. Point. No,
but I am a, you know,
it's what. No,
I
I
am
agree.
aware that it's an issue, mate, and I don't,
Yeah,
and I'm very open. It does say in it, all these images are generated
yeah,
by AI, so I don't claim any artistic merit to it, which there isn't.
yeah.
Um,
Nice point. I've got an alias writer a writer under a different name. He uses actually AI for covers, and it states in the
that's
book quite
deep.
clearly.
What's wrong with that?
It states it quite
I,
clearly.
I,
No,
I don't want to talk. I would imagine you're not sitting there with £10 million in the bank account. You
I
can't
wish.
afford.
No,
Well, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
yeah,
And that's just the world we're in now. You
yeah.
know, you can go on Suno and you can create songs. And
Oh,
I
I know.
have,
I heard some of them the other day. They were horrifyingly good.
well, there, I've put some of my poems to them to make
Oh,
myself
yeah,
laugh. And they
yeah,
are funny.
yeah.
Yeah, they are funny when you do it, it makes you laugh. It's not Bob Dylan, though, is it? It's not a real band.
No,
Um, the challenge with the images is I did them on Midjourney, which, if anyone, it's a great system for doing that. Midjourney are very cagey about where they trained their AI. So they did train, whatever you say, they did train their AI on things that you could argue maybe they don't have the right to. Obviously, I'm not saying that they did because I don't know, but I would suspect that it wasn't trained on stuff that was. There's a lot of them admitted that it was that stuff they've trained it on is not copywritten, and so there is a massive ethical issue with it. And the other ethical issue is it with it. I think we've gone on about this a bit much. Is every time you do a query on ChatGPT, when you go in and do a query on ChatGPT, it uses one pint of fresh, clean water.
oh
Every
yeah,
question you ask.
yeah,
So I imagine doing an image on Midjourney is a bucket of water, isn't it? And there are loads of ethical issues with it.
yeah.
And it makes me uncomfortable from those perspectives. It does, but I don't feel uncomfortable from using them as when I'm saying this is AI generated. I love the images and I think the pages look nice.
It definitely
Um,
adds. It makes the books more colourful because some
but it
books you could
isn't
argue.
ironic.
No,
In fairness, it's not ironic. It's not done from that perspective. It's done from I would argue a necessity perspective. Other people could say, well, you don't have to do the illustrations, and they'd be right. But then it wouldn't be what I wanted to do, which again is not an excuse.
No, it's the truth. It's the truth. That's fair enough
Yeah,
for you, mate.
is
So,
the truth.
no, understandable. Understandable. No, no complaints there. Now, I know you've hinted already, starting to wind down now, is you've
Oh, okay,
hinted
are
that
we?
you've
Oh,
got,
okay.
no, you've gone for the main question. I'm going to do the wrap-up questions now, because I know you've got another book in mind, haven't you,
Yes,
as
I
well?
have. Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
hinted at that already.
I have. Yeah, I
Now,
have.
I have noticed with your more recent stuff as well, and I can only think of putting this frankly, because we've talked on all kind of adult topics already. I suspect that the second book's going to be a bit more, oh, shall we say adult content? Is that
Well,
a
I
good, is
don't.
potentially?
Well, probably not. I mean, if I've written, I've got loads of stuff I've written. I write loads of it's rubbish, obviously, but I've written loads, and only probably about 10% would ever get read out because for me, there is a difference between performance poetry and written poetry. Some of the stuff in this book I've not read out because it doesn't feel like something I could perform. And I was going down my poems because I'm doing a longer slot somewhere, and I was going down my list of poems the other day and yesterday actually, and I thought I've written a lot of rude poems here. I'm gonna have to be a bit more. I'm gonna have to go on different subjects. I can't just keep writing poems about rude things. It's not deliberate. It's not deliberate. So no, I don't think so. My wife and my daughter Ellie. Ellie is like the ultimate. My wife says I don't listen to her, but I listen to Ellie. Ellie goes through it and says, "You can't say that. Don't put that in. You can't say that. Don't put that in. Don't put that in. Don't put that in. Don't say that. You can't say that. Don't put that in." And she's quite hard about it, quite rightly, actually. So no, I don't think it will be because I don't think. I think I've written one. Yes, I've written one the other day, which is all about self-help groups, and I read it out in Nantwich, and it is. It kind of it's way over on the left of being rude. It's basically sort of structured around a couple of slightly rude jokes, and I don't think I'd put that in, and I don't think I'd put in because I don't want. I know you might not believe this. I don't want to offend people. I don't want to offend
No, you're
people.
not
I
that
want.
sort of person. I know
I,
poets that
if
are, and you're not, so.
I don't. If somebody, if somebody doesn't like what I'm reading, that's fine. That's great. I don't mind that. Um, I try to be self-critical as opposed to critical of other people. So when I'm doing poems about, I do a lot of poems about myself being overweight, a lot of poems about myself getting old, a lot of poems about myself not being as, as I want to be. So I've written a few about how you get older, your balls dangle lower and that sort of stuff, and that's fine 'cause it's about me. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm not trying to. So no, I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. No, I've got loads and loads of things. I'm currently going down a route of. I've decided I'm going to write a load of poems about modern day mythical creatures that
Oh,
explain some of the things, and that's not rude. It's not rude. I've got one about why when men go into the urinals, there's always urine around the underneath the urinal. I don't know why. There's always urine. So there's this little goblin that does that, and I'm kind of going down that route. And I've got loads that aren't rude. Maybe the ones I pick out to read tend to be rude. I I did have one person in one of the sessions in Antwerp say Martin is always doing poems showing an appreciation of the female form, and I thought, no, I'm not.
you're not?
No, I'm
I
not.
don't
I'm
remember
not
that,
doing
yeah.
that. I'm not doing that at all. But from her perspective, I mean, she wasn't critical. She's a really nice person. She wasn't being critical. She thinks they're funny. Um, but I'm not trying to be. So no, answer to your question. No, I don't think so. I'm not trying to be offensive, and I do think strongly there's a difference between performance poetry and written poetry.
Yeah,
I
definite.
might be wrong. I mean, it's one thing Karen Kendrick, when she was doing the course, was quite. She was teaching us there is a difference,
Definite.
and
Definite.
I tend to go at the dulcimer, which is brilliant. Anyone who hasn't been should go. Um, I do because of the audience. Because I've twice read out poems and seen the tumbleweed rolling through the room, and it was because I misread the audience. And once at Speakeasy, I did read one, and we got in the car afterwards, and it was like, oh, they didn't like that at all. That was a bit that was a bit tumbleweed in the middle, and so I try to pick things that are more performance. The danger is you're living up to people's expectations all the time. So people get this expectation that you're going to be slightly rude and slightly funny. And I can't read out any of my non-funny poems. I've got
It's a
some emotional poems. I can't read them out.
Amanda has a lot of that problem sometimes, sure, people are wondering. Because like she's obviously you know yourself, and like she's got a reputation for being reading pieces that where men die in it, usually
Well,
quite graphically as well. And
the
she
thing about
is
Amanda, yeah, Amanda's stuff is very, very, very well written, very funny, and very clever. And it's always, whenever we go, obviously there are other people we talk about, we always sit in the car on the way back. And Amanda's stuff is always one of the ones it's like, that was really great. She's really great. So you do have this kind of, she does, yeah, because if she stood up and did my mum's dildo in my voice, it would work. But yeah, I just don't want to be, or maybe I do want to be. I'm playing up to the laughs, so maybe I've got a bit too rude. Maybe I've got a bit too rude. I don't know. I'm going to tone it down next time in September. I'm going to do something a bit different. I think because I don't want to be. I'd never want to offend anybody. It would really annoy me if I did. I don't want to do
yeah,
it.
no, I get it completely. But it's I'm always the opinion whenever I do stuff, I never stand still as a creative person, so you never know what you're going to get off me. I can do the
Yeah,
comedy, but more I'm more serious. But you know, it's
I think I've
sometimes
become a bit stuck when I'm performing it. In being trying to be funny, and I don't want people to think I'm always rude. Because I'm not. Well, I probably am, but I don't try to be. I don't try to be.
Yeah, I know
But
what you mean,
yeah,
mate.
yeah, yeah,
It's sometimes
yeah.
it's a difficult thing when you're trying to do performance like that. Is trying to stop the audience's expectations of you. It's not easy. No, fair play to you, mate. So it's
No,
not easy.
and I do, and I am aware of it. I am aware of it. I mean, like all of us, your mind goes down different routes, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
you can get stuck. And I've been writing a few. A lot of them are based on sort of stupid jokes that we make, and you write it, and you think, well, that's rude, and it is. It is. But I've written poems that are not, just normal stuff. I just don't feel that they're performancey, if that makes sense. So they'll
yeah,
probably go. There'll be more. There's a few in this book that aren't really performance poems, and I will put the second one. I'll probably feed in more of that to show slightly a bit of different side. I certainly wouldn't be putting in the really rude ones because I don't
yeah,
want people to read it and think, why is he always swearing? And
yeah.
that's not what I really want.
No, no, of course, no, I get it completely, mate, of it. So I agree with you. Have you got any gigs coming up anyway? You're going to be reading?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, yeah. I was yeah. I'm doing one in Macclesfield. There's one called in Mash Guru run by a guy called Mark the Poet, and he's really good actually.
I've
He's
heard
really
of him.
good.
Not met him.
Yeah, he is good.
I know some that reads there, John. So yeah.
He's a nice guy, and he said, "Do you want to come along?" I said, "I'll come along." So I said, "Well, how much? What's an open? Can I get me a slot?" And he said, "Oh, you can come along as the guest poet." And I thought, "Oh, so I get 30 minutes,
Oh,
which is
good
great."
grief! Oh,
But can
wow,
you imagine? Look, so I've really got to work on, right, okay,
wow.
what am I going to do? Two 15-minute slots, fantastic. But I can't just do a poem about a dildo, a poem about your balls, a poem about urination, a poem about sex. I can't just do that because even I will be bored. Which is why, actually, it's coincidental because I was literally going through my poems yesterday thinking, what am I going to read out? What am I going to read out? And it's coincidental with the question you've asked. But no, that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually genuinely looking forward to that. But if I'm honest, the ones I enjoy the most, we do one in Nantwich every 2 weeks, and it's music and poetry, and that's brilliant because the musicians are so talented. But the one I always look forward to is yours.
Cheers,
Genuinely,
mate.
I know I'm not blowing smoke. I always look forward to it. If I I will never not, if I can turn up, I will never not turn up to that for the next 30 years. That's it. You're not going to get away from me.
We're stuck with you whether we want you or not,
Yeah, you're stuck with me now.
and
Yeah,
you
you're stuck with me.
always will be welcome, mate.
Good.
So, right. Anyway, give us the hard sell, then, mate. As I always say, where can people get hold of your book?
On Amazon. That's it, just on Amazon. But I don't, but it, I joke and say it sold dozens. I do not expect to sell loads. It wasn't done for that reason. It was done as a creative exercise for myself. Can I do it? Got to challenge yourself. And I was trying to challenge myself. But no, they can get it on Amazon. It's under Martin CM on Amazon. It's you can either buy it don't buy it as a Kindle version, buy it as a proper one. The Kindle version probably won't be as good, but it's a proper one. And I am on
Brilliant.
TikTok. I am on TikTok.
Oh, right. I was going to ask
Um,
you lastly about where could people find you on the internet?
yeah, they
What's your
climb
TikTok page?
Martin C. Poet because I copied somebody who I knew who had his
Hmm.
first name and an initial and the word poet. I did. I just copied you. I
Who's
know
that then, I
it's
wonder?
pathetic, isn't it? It's pathetic. But no, I did. I was sitting there thinking, what should I do? Oh, Andy N. Poet. That'll do. I know it's
Brilliant.
pathetic, isn't it? It is
Oh,
embarrassing
fantastic.
when I say it to
I
you.
don't
But
mind,
yeah,
mate. I don't mind, mate.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so do it, mate. So all sounds all good to me, buddy. So, are you anywhere else on the internet and people want to track you
No,
down
just
for you
that.
to?
I mean, my company is on the internet. I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, but nobody wants. That's all about marketing, not about poetry. No,
Do
I'm
you want to
basically.
give Do you want to give a shout out
Well,
to your company as well, just to wrap up with
no,
them,
it's
mate?
fine. It's
Oh,
not. It's
yeah,
not. No, it's fine. It's nothing to do with poetry. I do marketing. Um, so no, if anyone wants a marketing expert who knows a bit about poetry, they can get in touch. But other than that, no, it's not a problem.
yeah. So sounds good to me then, mate. So, right, people. Yeah, we've had a great chat today, Martin. It's been a pleasure this way. I have actually cracked me up, mate, in a good way today, mate. So,
Good.
right, we'll
Good.
wrap up part one, and when we come back, Martin's going to do a couple of pieces from the book. So, or maybe not even from the book as well. We will see. He doesn't even know himself yet. Right, guys, folks. See you all in two shakes of the dice.